Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am going to be doing my July TBR. We are already 10 days into the month, and I've actually already started reading these books. I've just had some difficulties with filming and editing, so it's a bit late, but here I am doing what I'm going to read for the month of July. So, as you know, I read one fiction book, one nonfiction book, one graphic novel, or collected volume of a comic book series and a poem or slash play. And so I have that all this month, and I'm also am going to be reading a new book for the quarter. So for July, August, and September, I will also be reading a new book. So here we go. My fiction book for the month of July is going to be The Sword of Destiny by Andrzej Sapkowski. I have read last month. I read The Last Wish and then The Blood of Elves. So I did not read them in chronological order. So now I'm going to read The Sword of Destiny, and I will be caught up. So The Sword of Destiny is kind of just like The Last Wish, and it follows Geralt as he goes on his monster hunting adventures, and I believe it's a series of short stories about those hunts and the interactions he has with his friends. So I really liked The Last Wish and Blood of Elves, and I've read like the first, as you can see, I've already started, and it's really been intriguing so far. So I hope that this is just as good as the other ones. I'm pretty sure it is, and I'll continue reading this series in the future. So my nonfiction read of the month is going to be If by the Sea, The Forging of the American Navy from the Revolution to the War of 1812 by George C. Dogon. So basically this is a book talking about the history of the formation of the American Navy as well from the years of the Revolution until the War of 1812. And basically this book, he wants to show that the American Navy started when the Revolution started, and that it finds its origins there, and then it grew into became its kind of own by the time of the War of 1812. And he says that in a lot of histories of the American Revolution that the Navy is really neglected, or in that people place the founding of the Navy later in time. So in this book, he wants to look at the importance of the American Navy in the Revolution, and also basically convince you, the reader, that it started when the Revolution started. I've read the first couple chapters, and I read the first chapter, and I kind of don't agree, but we'll see as he goes on if he can show more proof that it actually started when the Revolution itself started. So this looks to be like a really interesting read. I actually got this book when I went to go see the USS Constitution, the old Navy warship up in Charleston, Massachusetts, and I went to the museum there, and in the gift shop was this book. So I was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. I don't really know much about American naval history during this time period, so I said, why not? So in a similar vein, my next book, or my graphic novel choice of the month, is Rebels by Brian Wood and Andrea Moti, and also Matthew Woodson, Ariella Christentina, Tristan Jones, and Jordi Belair. And basically this series is primarily based around a man who fights with the Green Mountain Boys, who played a huge part in the American Revolution in the New York, Vermont, Canada area, and basically tells his story from going from being just part of the impromptu militia to being part of the Green Mountain Boys to being part of the American Continental Army officially. And it also includes short stories about the women who fought in the Revolution, a African American slave who is fighting for the British, and it kind of explores his reasons why he joined the British instead of staying with the colonies, with the colonist side, and also a Native American's point of view from before the Revolution, and a point of view of a British soldier. So it looks to be like a well-rounded story. I really like the artwork, and I had this on my shelf for months, but felt that July would be the best time to read this, given that Independence Day happens this month. So last month I read the Iliad, so for this month my poetry read of the month is going to be the Odyssey by Homer. This translation is by Robert Fitzgerald, and basically this tells the story of Odysseus, and his travels and the trials he went through to get back home. So the first part of the book is basically his son looking for him, and then the rest is him, Odysseus himself, telling the story of what happened. What happened, his travels to get back home, and then him coming back home and dealing with the stuff that has occurred there while he's been gone. So the Iliad was an okay read. For me, it was kind of hard to get through some parts of it, but the Odyssey I've also have attempted to read before and didn't get through. I didn't get through much of it, so we're gonna try it again, and hopefully this time I can get through. I got through the Iliad last month, so hopefully this month I can get through the Odyssey. So that was my poetry read of the month. So now for the book that I'm going to be reading for the next quarter, that book is going to be War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. And basically this is like a 1100 page book about a couple of Russian families and the individuals basically trying to find their ways in the world as the whole Napoleon is making his way through Europe and is about to invade Russia. Of course, they don't know that at this point. They think that Napoleon will be stopped by the armies of Russia, but of course, history says otherwise. So I've started this book. I'm actually kind of behind already. So let's see if we can finish this in 3 months. So I'm also going to be reading a book over the next 6 months, and that is going to be The English and Their History by Robert Holmes. Basically, when I'm reading this, a friend of mine who is going to Brown University, as that's playing in one of my tags, he's going to Brown University, and he wants to read this book, but he doesn't have the time. So he basically asked me to read it for him and tell him about the book, what's in it, and he will basically give me the money for the book. So basically I'm being paid to read it, which is great. I get to learn something, he gets to learn something, and all is well in the world. And last but not least, I am also going to be reading Space Boy by Stephen McCraney. And basically I'm reading this because Natalie at Pages and Panels started a book club, and we are going to be reading basically a graphic novel a month. I will place a link to the book club can't talk. I will place a link to the book club page in the description box below, also with a link to her YouTube channel and also her Twitter page, so you can join if you wish to, and also check out her channel as well. So basically, Space Boy is about a girl named Amy, who is she lives in the future. She lives in space, and she has to move back to Earth for reasons. Basically, her dad has a change in his job situation, so her and her family have to move back to Earth. It's going to take them 30 years to do it, but they're going to be in cryosleeps, which means that she won't age, but her friends back home will. So basically, she arrives on Earth. She has to get used to everything that's brand new 30 years later, which also affects how she interacts with her friends back home, of course, because they're like 30 years older. And so she has to basically get used to her new surroundings. And one interesting thing about her is that when she thinks of people, she thinks about them as flavors. So she thinks of her mom as minty, her dad as hot chocolate, one of her friends is jalapeno. So and that's actually a real condition. I don't forget the name of it, but there are people out there who actually have the same who minds work the exact same way. So I actually read this already, so I will talk about it more in my wrapped up at the end of the month, but it was actually a really good book. So I'm glad to have picked this up, because it was kind of random. I didn't know much about it going in, and kind of just went out on because Natalie recommended it, decided to go ahead and read it, and I have to say that I did not regret picking this up. So that's all for me. Well, I may also take part in the Megalong that is being run. It's a read-along for the book Meg that is being run by Erica over at Perks and Books. I may take part of that, but I have so much to read so far that I'm not sure if I'll get to it. But if I do, you'll definitely see that in my wrap up at the end of the month. So, guys, what are you going to be reading in the month of July? Please comment down in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28 and also on Goodreads. The link to my Goodreads page is down in the description box below. So, as always, keep reading.